Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary stories come to life, whether under distant suns or in the shadows of dying stars. Enjoy the journey as we drift into the tale together. The ash falls sideways. Gravity on Bareth Minor has begun to glitch again, just one of 1,000 tiny malfunctions plaguing the scorched colonial outpost. From orbit, the surface is a mess of scarlet cracks and flickering containment domes. Inside, it's worse. The heat shieldings failed in 3 sectors, emergency power is down to 30%, and the evac sirens don't even howl anymore, they just whimper. Through corridors filled with thermal fog, Jalen Rusk moves like a man who's done this before, because he has. Salvager. Technician. Sometimes smuggler. Never hero. He pulls a loose rebreather tighter across his jaw as sparks fall like fireflies around him. The floor trembles under his boots, the colony creaking like a wounded animal. In one hand, he holds a survival satchel. In the other, a threadbare emergency towel, grabbed instinctively when the coolant tanks blew. And then he sees her. Half collapsed in a corner of the atmospheric pump bay is a figure, small, slight, cloaked in wet ash. Not human. Thin legs folded awkwardly. Skin a sheen of moonlight green, dusted in silver soot. For small horns curl faintly back from her brow, like the sprouting roots of a sapling. Her chest rises and falls in staggered breath. Jalen curses under his breath. Not now. He glances down the corridor. Still time to make it back to Dock 6. Leave her. She's not his. She's probably got kin. Or handlers. Or gods. But her eyes flutter open, and in that instant, something ancient moves behind them. Recognition? Memory? Or just desperation? She shivers violently. Her pale robes are soaked with fire-suppressant foam, clinging like melted paper. And without thinking, Jalen throws her the towel. Just a gesture. Just to help. She stares at it. Then slowly, with a kind of ceremonial precision he doesn't understand, she presses the towel to her forehead, then drapes it across her shoulders like a cloak. Her eyes never leave his. In that moment, something shifts in the air. No words. No thanks. Just silence, and the distant thump of collapsing alloy. He slings her across his shoulder, muttering about how he's getting too old for this, and carries her through the ruins. Behind them, the dome begins to fracture. The ship awaiting in orbit, the Oath of Return, is barely more than a floating refugee vessel, packed with the last survivors of Baretha's multi-species mining colony. Its crew is a mix of exhausted medics, automated sentinels, and a few bewildered diplomats trying to prevent civil collapse. Jalen staggers onto the deck, still holding the girl. A hush spreads. 3 elderly aliens, robed in ceremonial bone-hued silks, step forward. Their skin is the same emerald hue as the girl's, though faded by age. Their horns are longer, looped into helixes. They look at the towel. Then at her. Then at him. They all kneel. In unison. Jalen frowns. What the hell? The oldest elder speaks, her voice trembling. The right of first covering has been fulfilled. The claim is made. It cannot be undone. Jalen looks around. No one laughs. Even the humans nearby go quiet. The girl, barely conscious, utters one word, barely audible. Bound. Somewhere in the ship's upper levels, a sanitation bot plays a looping pop song from Earth that no one asked for. It doesn't help. Jalen stands in a small medical bay, arms crossed, trying to make sense of what's just happened. He leans against the wall. His hands are still dirty from the escape. In the next room, the girl sleeps under a heat lamp designed for her species. Every so often, she stirs, murmuring words in a dialect the translator implants barely recognize. A young envoy approaches him. Human. Nervous. She's from Clan Veari, the envoy says. They're traditional. They believe in the old customs. That towel. What about it? To them, it's more than warmth. It's symbolic. It means you covered her. Protected her. It's called the first covering. In the old stories, it's how a Veari male claims his life mate. Jalen laughs. A short, disbelieving bark. You're telling me I just married an alien girl by giving her a towel? The envoy winces. That's the polite version. Jalen rubs his face. I'm gonna need a drink. Galactic scholars still argue whether ancient customs should hold sway in refugee law, especially among species who mingle with humans. Some say the Veari take symbolism too far. Others say humans forget that to alien cultures, gesture is law. But for now, Jalen doesn't care about galactic precedent. All he knows is, he gave a girl a towel, and now her entire clan believes he owns her heart. And maybe, just maybe, some part of her believes it too. The next morning, the Oath of Return hums quietly through deep vacuum, just outside the Bareth debris field, beyond the scorched moons it once orbited. The ship's interior lights shift to a gentle blue, indicating the beginning of a rest cycle. But Jalen can't rest. He's in a room that smells faintly of ceremonial oil and static charge. He's seated, not by choice, in what the Veari call the Hall of Recognition. In front of him are 13 elders, all draped in silk-layered robes so intricately embroidered they shimmer like heat waves. The central matron, the same one who knelt the day before, now stares at Jalen with a kind of clinical reverence. Her name, he's told, is High Matron Velthia. Behind her, Ishari stands upright. No longer feverish, she wears clean ceremonial garments. The towel, his towel, has been folded carefully across her shoulders like a holy relic. Jalen raises a hand. Let's back up. I think there's a cultural thing I missed here. You think, murmurs one of the younger male elders. Velthia silences him with a glance. Jalen Rusk of soul-born origin. Do you deny that you offered the covering? I gave her a towel. The ancient rite is symbol-based, she replies smoothly. It is not what you gave, but what she accepted. Jalen looks at Ishari. Her eyes meet his. She doesn't look angry or confused, just solemn. As if this moment weighs heavier on her than it does on him. Velthia continues. The rite has been invoked. The claim stands. This is law. What does that mean, exactly? Jalen asks. Am I what, her husband now? There's a pause. Then Velthia, with great care, replies. No. Not husband. Not as your people understand it. You are her chosen anchor. He squints. That sounds worse. Among the Veari, the chosen anchor is the one to whom the soul is bound in flux. In times of war, catastrophe, or planetary death, if a bond is made, even by accident, it holds until dissolved in blood or ceremony. Jalen stands up. Then do the ceremony. Unbind it. Easy. Velthia's expression doesn't change. We cannot. The rite was accepted in the shadow of extinction. It is sealed by survival. To break it now would dishonor the ancestors. Jalen runs a hand through his hair. What if I just walk away? A low murmur ripples through the room. One of the younger elders, more militant-looking, his robe adorned with metal strands, steps forward. If the anchor rejects the soul's thread, the clan must interpret it as abandonment. Dishonor. In the old cycles, that meant retaliation. Jalen freezes. Wait. You're telling me not marrying her could start a war? Not marrying, Velthia corrects. Not recognizing. You need not take her to bed, human. But you must acknowledge the bond. Let her walk beside you. Let her speak with your authority. You are the bridge. Or the fracture. Jalen sits down again, slower this time. Later, in a quieter chamber, soft carpets underfoot, golden latticework overhead, Ishari finally speaks to him alone. I did not expect it, she says. He folds his arms. You and me both. I was dying. Your towel, it felt like being remembered. She looks away. To us, warmth from another's hand means you see us. Truly. Not as salvage. Not as burden. Jalen exhales. You're just a kid. I'm of choosing age, she says sharply. My species matures faster. I've passed my tempering. My song has a name. A pause. You're not my first moment of clarity. But you might be my last. He eyes her cautiously. Do you want this? Really? She tilts her head, considering him. No. But I want you not to hate me for it. Silence. Galactic xenologists still debate whether alien species truly experience romantic attachment as humans do, or if they simply mimic it through ritual, loyalty, or biochemical necessity. But in Ishari's gaze, there's something too raw to be imitation. Jalen shifts uncomfortably. So what happens now? She touches the towel on her shoulders. You walk beside me. Speak beside me. And when the matrons call, you answer. Until the cycle ends. Sounds like a job. No, she says. It's a path. And I did not expect you to show up in mine. That night, Jalen lies in a bunk barely big enough for his legs. The towel, the damn towel, is folded on the table near the vent. He stares at the ceiling, thinking about how one moment of kindness can reshape two lives. Then he thinks of something worse. If he hadn't given her the towel, if he'd looked away, she would have died. A small price, then, for a misunderstanding. Except, the look in her eyes tells him this was never a misunderstanding. She knew. And maybe, on some level, he did too. Jalen wakes to the soft chime of the ship's chronocycle, a low pulse that vibrates just below hearing, like a heartbeat echoing through steel corridors. He blinks, unsure if he slept. His dreams were cluttered, flickering faces, glass domes, the smell of burned coolant, and the weight of a towel that no longer feels like his. He finds her on the observation deck, seated cross-legged before the stars. Ishari doesn't turn when he enters. Her silhouette is slim against the void, but regal, like a statue cast in moonlight. Her robes shimmer faintly with woven threads of memory fabric, each thread said to carry a fragment of ancestral voice. The towel is still with her, folded neatly beside a steaming bowl of nutrient broth. You don't sleep much, Jalen says, voice hushed in respect to the starlit hush. I don't dream safely when bound in half-rights, she replies. The old voices stir too loudly. He sits beside her, careful to leave space. You know my name. Jalen Rusk. Born on the Mars Arcologies. Engineer. Salvager. Once got electrocuted by a broken coffee dispenser. She tilts her head slightly, amused. I know. But I don't know anything about you. Not even your real name. She looks at him now, eyes violet and filled with distance. I am Ishari Velental of Clan Veari, she says slowly, as if each syllable must be weighed in air. Third cycle blood of the soul streamline. Voice bound by instinct, tempered in flame. My bond was meant for another. He waits. But now it's me? She nods once. Jalen scratches his chin. Your people always bond by towel, or was that just improvisation? Her lips twitch. You jest, but the custom is older than our calendars. When one is near death and saved with warmth, a bridge forms. A bridge that chooses itself. No permission. No rehearsal. He exhales. You keep saying chosen, like it's a contract. In a way, she murmurs. But it's not about ownership. It's about presence. You were there. When I was unmade. You gave me something to survive with. The towel? No, she says gently. You looked at me, and did not see a refugee. You saw a being worth pausing for. Jalen swallows. They fall into silence, watching the stars drift past. Elsewhere on the Oath of Return, tension simmers. Clan Veari has taken control of one quadrant of the ship, draping its walls in ritual silks and converting several compartments into ancestral shrines. Other species, Evernites, scattered Terran settlers, even the drawn symbiotes, observe from a wary distance. Whispers pass in multiple languages, the human claimed one of theirs. He bound her with cloth. Is it a love ritual? Or a declaration of war? Galactic alliances are fragile, especially in the aftermath of system-wide evacuation. No one wants to trigger a cultural incident, but no one understands what's happened. Only the Veari elders seem pleased. Jalen, meanwhile, can barely finish a meal without someone bowing or offering him gifts, bone-carved beads, spiced water, scrolls of ancestral maps. He tries to give them back. It doesn't help. That evening, Ishari brings him to the memory garden, a sealed chamber of bioluminescent trees that remember what they see. Each leaf pulses with recorded emotion, stored in bioelectric signals. They walk beneath glowing branches that hum faintly with laughter, grief, longing. Ishari touches a branch. A soft pulse travels up the vine. It sings a single tone. That was my brother, she says. When he turned 12 cycles and left the nest. Jalen listens. The tone shivers through him. Joy, laced with sorrow. Do you miss him? He was vaporized during the dome collapse on Bareth. Jalen doesn't know what to say. Now, she continues, his laughter lives here. In case the stars forget. They stand together under the light. She turns to him, more serious now. You're trapped in something you didn't choose, she says softly. I know that feeling well. Then let's unchoose it, Jalen says, gently. Tell your people I let go. That it was a mistake. A pause. She's quiet for too long. Then, if I tell them that, they will say I was rejected. They will strip my name song from the archives. I will become untethered. A being without presence. To Veari, that is death. He stares. They'd erase you? Not out of hate, she says. Out of sorrow. He leans back against one of the memory trees. Its bark hums with quiet remembrance. Well, he mutters, that's a hell of a pickle. She smiles faintly. What is a pickle? Never mind. Before parting that night, Ishari lifts the towel again, this time folding it with sacred precision. You didn't mean to bind me, she says. But you did. So now, we must choose how to carry each other. Jalen looks at her, unsure what he sees now, refugee, ritual partner, or someone who might just be a mirror. In her eyes, he sees no desperation. No demand. Just someone quietly asking, if kindness was true, would you undo it to escape the consequence? The council chamber smells like burnt jasmine and something older, a preservation scent, Jalen is told, woven from seeds extinct on 3 worlds. It clings to the air, faint but persistent, like memory that refuses to fade. He stands at the center of the orbital triune, a circular chamber suspended beneath the ship's rotating core. The chamber isn't just symbolic, it's gravitationally neutral, designed so no being from any world stands above another. But Jalen doesn't feel equal here. He feels judged. High Matron Velthia sits before him, flanked by 2 other matrons of equal age but differing temperaments. One is serene. One is skeptical. One is waiting. Behind them, a dozen clan advisors observe in silence, their eyes glowing faintly from embedded symbiotic lenses. Ishari is there, too, kneeling behind a thin veil of light, her presence muted by ceremonial distance. Velthia's voice rises, measured, smooth, eternal. Jalen Rusk of Soul. As chosen anchor of Ishari Valentel, you stand now under the judgment of the matron circle. Speak truthfully, or not at all. Jalen shifts. I've been doing that since I got here. A flicker of amusement ripples through one of the younger observers. Quickly suppressed. Velthia leans forward. Are you aware of what you initiated? He takes a breath. I gave someone a towel. That's what happened. What you see in it, that's on your culture, not mine. The skeptical matron, Ishtena, with lips like razors, speaks. Ignorance does not unmake effect. Intent does not sever causality. I never meant to bind her. Yet she is bound, Velthia replies. And now you must decide how deeply. There's a pause. Because this much is true, she continues. The right cannot be reversed. Jalen frowns. Even if we both want out? The serene matron, Maliri, whose eyes carry stars, finally speaks. The right was sealed under threat of death. It is now soul anchored. Her energy carries your imprint. Your presence echoes in her aura signature. Severing that would destroy her. The room falls silent. The philosophical angle creeps in quietly. In some ancient cultures, energy and memory were believed to intertwine through gesture, not genetics. Not biology. But attention. You see someone in their lowest moment, and in doing so, you leave a mark on them, on yourself, on the shared field of being. Galactic academics still argue, Maliri says, whether imprinting via compassion is a form of consent or violation. We do not. We accept what the stars sow. Jalen grips the railing beside him. So I'm what now? Her soulmate? Her guardian? You are her reflection, Velthia says, until you prove otherwise. After the hearing, he's led down a winding corridor of echo walls, slabs of organic crystal that hum with emotional residue. Every whisper, every doubt spoken near them leaves a faint psychic stain. Jalen runs his hand over one. The wall pulses. I didn't ask for this, his voice murmurs back, delayed and distant. A voice joins him. You could have left me. He turns. It's Ishari. No guards. No veil. Just her, standing in the corridor with the towel still folded across her arms. I should have, he replies honestly. But you didn't, she says. And that, means more to my people than you can imagine. They walk together. She pauses before a memory niche, glass panels displaying ancestral talismans, some shaped like tools, others like folded leaves. My mother was claimed during a mining collapse, Ishari says quietly. The one who saved her left. She spent the rest of her cycles singing his name into the soil, hoping it would grow into a memory. It never did. Jalen looks at her. You think I'll run? I think you already want to. He doesn't deny it. Later, in the right quarters, Velthia approaches him again. This time alone. Her voice is quieter now, more human. You care for her, she says. That much is clear. I barely know her. Caring doesn't always wait for knowing. Sometimes, it walks ahead of it. She places a small carved disc into his hand, stone-like, but warm. What's this? A decision key. One use. If you truly choose to sever the bond, crush it. The link will dissolve. She will survive. But the clan will exile her. Jalen stares at the object. Heavy for its size. You're giving me an out? I am giving you truth, Velthia replies. The stars do not bind by chains. Only mirrors. The choice is always yours. That night, he dreams of Titan. Of a glass dome long broken. Of his sister, Era, who once laughed in the rain and asked him, "Why do you always help people who don't ask for it?" He never answered her. But the echo in the dream whispers back. Because no one asked for kindness either. And that's why it matters. Jalen lingers at the viewport, watching the jagged remains of Bareth Minor tumble past in slow orbital disarray. The once functional colony, now just scorched rock and twisted alloy, spins without purpose, like a forgotten toy in space. In his palm, the decision key still radiates faint warmth. It's heavy, not physically, but philosophically. One squeeze, one snap, and all this ends. Ishari would be safe. Unbound. Alone. The towel, folded nearby, sits like a silent witness to his indecision. He seeks solitude in a part of the ship he knows best, the maintenance decks. Pipes hiss overhead. Low lights flicker. These halls don't care about destiny or sacred rites. They care about coolant pressure and ion leaks. It's here that he finds Rondel, an old Durvan technician who's worked with humans long enough to joke like one. 4 arms, 2 eyes, 1 sarcastic mouth. Rondel squints at him over a steaming mug of algae tea. You look like someone who just got married at knife point, he rasps. Jalen grunts. You ever hear of a species that binds their soul to a guy over a towel? I once knew a race that swore loyalty to anyone who helped them move furniture, Rondel shrugs. Cultures are weird. He pauses. You thinking of bailing? Thinking about it. Rondel's face tightens. Then do it clean. Leave a note. Don't string her along. I didn't ask for any of this. Did she? Rondel replies, blunt. The silence hangs between them. On his way back to quarters, Jalen passes a Veari child. The little girl clutches a toy carved in the shape of his face. He stops. She bows deeply, voice full of shy reverence. Thank you for saving our future voice. He blinks. What? She's our seer-to-be, the girl explains. Born under eclipse. Her path is sacred. Without her, our next cycle falls to silence. He watches the child run off. Sacred. Suddenly, it's more than just a cultural fluke. He's not just her accidental lifeline. He's now tied to a prophecy. or at least their interpretation of it. And that's when the old woman speaks. She's dying. Collapsed in a side hallway, skin mottled, breath shallow. Elderly Viari, alone. Jalen kneels beside her, checking for a pulse. She grips his wrist. She saw you, the woman rasps. Who? Ishari. In the mist. The moment you threw the towel. Jalen nods. Yeah, I know. She was cold. I helped. No, the old woman's voice hardens. She chose in that moment. She anchored herself to your silhouette. The towel was only confirmation. He frowns. What does that mean? She wanted to survive, with you. Her aura did not bind by accident. It searched. Her breathing falters. She remembered someone who once looked at her with warmth. It was not a mistake. It was a decision made in the silence between lives. Then she dies. Just like that. Jalen stays kneeling for a long time. Later, in the sanctuary chamber of airflow and amber light, he confronts Ishari. You saw me before I gave you the towel. She doesn't answer immediately. I felt something, she says finally. A thread. A hum. Your presence cut through the fog like a song. And I reached for it. So you chose me? Not the right. Not the law. Just me? I had seconds to die, she says. I chose presence over silence. And you were the only presence I trusted. He slumps against the wall. That's not fair. I'm no one. You looked, she says gently. And my people's beliefs, that's everything. A French scholar once argued that attention is the rarest form of love. That to witness another being fully, to pause for them in the noise of existence, is the closest we come to transcendence. Jalen doesn't believe in much. But he remembers the moment in the mist. The way her eyes found his. The towel still warm in his hand. He didn't mean to save a life. Or claim a future. Or become someone's anchor. He just saw her and didn't look away. And maybe that's exactly what made it sacred. The meditation pool hums with bioluminescent energy, casting shimmering halos across the curved ceiling. The water isn't for swimming, it's a neural field designed to amplify truth through resonance. When words are spoken here, the pool reacts, not to the language, but to the sincerity. Jalen sits on a cushion of woven Kelvin wool, hands resting on his knees, breathing slowly as instructed. Across from him, Ishari kneels with the grace of someone used to being watched. They haven't spoken since the elder's death. Now, under the hum of the truth pool, there is no more space for evasions. I've been thinking, Jalen begins. About that moment. The towel. The look in your eyes. Ishari says nothing. You already knew what it meant, he continues. Before your elders said anything. Before the ship. You knew. Her shoulders rise, just a fraction. Yes. The pool flickers soft violet. He leans forward. Why didn't you stop it? She closes her eyes. And when she speaks, the pool deepens in hue, a sign of unfiltered emotion. I could have refused the gesture, she says. I could have dropped the towel. Walked away. Denied the bond. She opens her eyes. They shimmer with a kind of grief that doesn't beg forgiveness, just understanding. But in that moment, as the dome collapsed and the heat came pouring in, I wanted it. Jalen stares. I wanted someone to choose me, she whispers. Even by accident. The pool ripples with faint gold. I wanted to matter to someone, not as a prophet, or a seer-to-be, or a symbol. Just as a girl, who was dying, and who someone saw. Jalen swallows hard. It's a strange thing, being chosen, not for valor, not for skill, not even for love, but for presence. He tries to speak. Fails. Tries again. I didn't mean for this, he says finally. I know, she replies. But I hoped for it. The silence between them isn't awkward, it's thick with unspoken truths. A translator drone hums softly as it floats in. Jalen waves it away. Don't need it, he mutters. I think we're speaking just fine. Ishari smiles for the first time. It's small, brief, but real. Then she stands and walks to a small offering shelf inset in the wall. She removes a crystalline object, a folded tetrahedron of orite, etched with symbols that pulse with her biometrics. She places it in his hands. What is it? He asks. A choice token, she says. For me. If I ever wish to sever the bond. I crush this. Jalen frowns. You have one too? She nods. The decision key you were given, it binds you to nothing. You can leave. They will mourn. But you will be free. He looks down at the crystal, then back at her. So why haven't you used it? Her answer is simple. Because I'm tired of being chosen by destiny. I want to choose for myself. Philosophers across star systems have debated the morality of consent through ritual, especially when one party doesn't share the same metaphysical beliefs. Is it manipulation if the act was innocent? Is it still sacred if the human never meant it? But ethics doesn't feel like the right lens here. Not when she looks at him like this. Not when he remembers the shivering weight of her body in his arms as the dome burned. Not when he starts to feel that maybe she didn't just want to belong. Maybe she wanted to belong with him. Later, in the communal chamber reserved for clan rituals, she sits beside him, closer than before. You still carry the key? She asks. He pulls it from his jacket. Yeah. May I see it? He hands it over. She holds it between her palms, presses it to her forehead, then offers it back. What did you do? Nothing, she says. But now it remembers me, too. If you ever break it, I will know. Jalen holds it for a moment longer, then tucks it back into his coat. Not because he plans to use it, but because he finally understands why he hasn't yet. The Vayari dialect is a language of intonation and intent, where meaning bends not just by a word, but by posture, eye position, even the tilt of a person's aura. It's an art form built on emotional resonance. Naturally, translator drones fail often. So when Jalen steps into the public hall of declarations, flanked by Ishari and 3 quiet matrons, he doesn't know the language is about to betray him. He just knows he's about to speak, finally, to clear things up. Just explain that it was a misunderstanding, he says to Ishari. She nods. They await your truth. Dozens of Vayari are gathered. It's ceremonial but informal, meant to let both parties address the bond openly. A chance for clarity. A translator drone hovers behind his head, quietly adjusting for syntax. Jalen clears his throat, looks at the crowd, and says with firm, respectful honesty, I didn't mean to claim her. I only wanted to help. A few Vayari blink in confusion. Some lean forward. Murmurs ripple. The drone pauses, then broadcasts. I did not mean to take her. Only to bind her with kindness. And warmth. Ishari's eyes widen. The hall goes silent. Before Jalen can correct anything, the drone, clearly struggling, adds a follow-up line, mistakenly derived from outdated ceremonial code. And now, I offer myself in fullness to her future and her bloodline. Every elder in the room gasps. Ishari turns to him, expression frozen in stunned disbelief. What? He blurts. The drone retranslates that into, "It is finished. Let the offering begin." A high gong rings. Two younger Veari rush forward with a binding garland, wrapped in glowing pulse threads. Velthia nods with serene approval. The second vow has been spoken. Jalen steps backward. No. That wasn't. That was the drone. But the matrons are already bowing. And Ishari? She just stares at him. Then covers her mouth with both hands, muffling a laugh. Minutes later, in a side chamber, she's still trying to catch her breath. I'm sorry, she gasps, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. That was spectacular. I basically proposed to you by accident, Jalen mutters, rubbing his forehead. Technically, she says, wiping her face, you offered your warmth, your presence, and your progeny. Fantastic. I'll go get a ring and a crib. Ishari grins. The garland was a nice touch. He groans. How do I fix this? She tilts her head, then shrugs. You could flee. Don't tempt me. Her tone softens. Or, you could just let it stand. Let the rite deepen. Let my people believe what they already hope for. He meets her gaze. Is that what you hope for? She hesitates. I hoped that maybe you'd stay. Not because of the rite, but because of me. He's quiet. The translator drone, now perched nervously in the corner, utters a meek chirp and restarts its recalibration cycle. Outside, the clan prepares for a feast of acknowledgement, a pre-bonding tradition meant to honor shared futures. Ishari's name has already been inscribed on a memory veil alongside Jalen's identifier glyph. And Jalen? He's stuck eating spicy root bread while alien elders offer to braid his hair as a symbol of unity. Rondel, watching from the shadows, chuckles. You've got a good one, human. You might not deserve her, but hell, she seems to like that. Jalen stares at the veil. His name. Her name. Threaded together. What started as a misunderstanding is now etched in silk and ceremony. Later, under dim lantern light, Ishari walks with him along the gallery of threads, a corridor of tapestries where life bonds from centuries past are recorded. They stop before one depicting a Veari girl and a Terran Marine. The first human bond. It failed, Ishari says softly. He died in a reactor breach. She never spoke again. Jalen touches the edge of the fabric. And yet, you still believe in this. I believe in what happens in the moment someone looks at you and chooses not to look away. He doesn't reply. But he doesn't look away either. The Oath of Return drifts through a calmer stretch of space now, beyond the wreckage field, sailing toward the neutral safe haven of Veltal Station, where political factions from over a dozen systems await news of the Veari's strange interspecies union. And not all are pleased. In the shaded quarters beneath the ship's main fusion rings, a different kind of ritual unfolds, one not of silk and symbols, but of steel and silence. For Veari, younger and sharper-eyed than the council elders, gather in cloaked tension. They speak in clipped dialect, their translator nodes intentionally disabled. What they say cannot be overheard. But their goal is clear. This bond endangers our sovereignty. We cannot allow an outsider to hold the thread. She is a seer. not a bride. Prepare the extraction. Jalen senses something is off. Not because anyone tells him, but because Ishari disappears. One moment she's seated beside him at the shared meal hall, picking at nutrient vines and smiling at his sarcastic remarks about alien utensils. The next, gone. No notice. No trace. He checks her quarters. Empty. Her towel, his towel, is still neatly folded on her cot. That alone is wrong. She never leaves it behind. He contacts Rondell, who scans internal logs. Her biometrics dropped off 2 levels down, then vanished. Either cloaked or forced offline. Jalen's breath tightens. Who'd do that? Rondell frowns. Not the matrons. But there's a younger council, one that thinks your presence is a heresy. They're going to erase the bond, Jalen mutters. Or her. He doesn't wait. Descending through maintenance shafts and magnetic wells, he reaches the service spine, an ancient part of the ship sealed off for decades. The power is low, the lighting flickers, and dust hangs in weightless drifts. That's when he hears it. A low chant in the Veari tongue. Rhythmic. Cold. Final. He finds the door, a ceremonial airlock repurposed into a rite of purity chamber. And inside, Ishari is kneeling. Surrounded by the 4 radicals. Her eyes are dry, but her hands are bound with silken cords. Her aura flickers. She is seer to be, one intones. She must not remain contaminated by outside presence. You think I contaminated her? Jalen snaps, stepping forward. The radicals whirl. One draws a curved blade made of compressed mineral, old-world ceremonial steel, never meant to be used. But it hums with sharpness all the same. She began to see him in her thread visions, the leader says. His presence disrupts the clan path. She chose me, Jalen growls. I didn't make that happen. But I'm not walking away. You cannot stop a ritual once it begins. Then I'll start one of my own. He lifts the towel. He's carried it with him, tucked in his vest, folded close to his side like an afterthought. But now, in this moment, he holds it high, arms outstretched. The radicals hesitate. Their eyes flicker. Ishari gasps softly. The towel is witness. Veari law dictates that when a covering is invoked during conflict, all rites must halt until the witness has spoken. Jalen steps into the circle. Drops the towel onto the floor between them. No more rituals, he says. Just truth. He helps Ishari to her feet. I'm sorry, she whispers. I didn't know they'd do this. I know. Their eyes meet. Then the radicals surge. But they don't strike. Because standing behind Jalen now, limbs glowing, fusion tools raised like axes, is Rondell. And 3 maintenance bots he hacked for bodyguard duty. Sorry, the Dervan Tech mutters. Thought I'd crash the party. The radicals back down. The ritual ends, not by force, but by interruption of presence. In Veari law, presence is power. And Jalen just made his permanent. They retreat into the ship's inner levels, alarms beginning to sound as the matrons are informed of the rogue rite. Inside a sealed module, Ishari sits against the wall, her hand trembling in his. You risked war, she says softly. Maybe, he replies. But if they want to call that love, I won't argue. She stares at him. Then presses her forehead against his. And for the first time since the towel passed between them, they're quiet. No words. No ceremony. Just a fragile, growing presence. The corridors quiet as they descend deeper, beneath decks even Rondel hasn't fully mapped. Here, where the ship's memory plating no longer hums, and the air is heavier with age, time seems to curl in on itself. Jalen walks with Ishari at his side, their footsteps echoing like relics from another era. He still carries the towel. They follow faded glyphs half-erased by heat damage and time, until they reach a sealed hatch flanked by twin pillars of carved bone metal. The door bears no standard interface, only a circular hollow, shaped not for fingers, but for hands pressed together. Ishari stops. Her voice is reverent. "This is a vault." "A vault?" She nods. "A place where bonds were once consecrated. Before our people fled to stars. Before machines knew our names." Jalen exhales slowly. "It's old. More than old," she says. "This is where our species first learned to share memory, not through bloodlines, but presence. Two minds entering and leaving changed." He hesitates. "We're not actually doing that, are we?" She places her palm gently over the hollow. "We don't have to. But it's sanctuary. And I need to breathe." Inside, the bonding vault glows with breathlight, no fixtures, no flame. Just the walls themselves, alive with bioluminescence that pulses gently in time with their steps. The floor is soft, moss-like, woven from preserved ancestral spores that once only bloomed on their lost homeworld. In the center, a low pool, shallow and shimmering, not liquid, but a neural mist, dense with encoded emotion. No guards follow. No alarms sound. The chamber recognizes them. When Jalen enters fully, a ripple travels through the mist. Glyphs bloom along the walls in faint gold, symbols neither of them can fully translate. Ishari inhales. "It remembers us." He looks at her. "What do you mean?" "This place is alive. Part of the ancient archive chain. It recognizes our bond, fragmented though it is." Jalen paces slowly. "So this was a what? Marriage chapel?" "Not exactly. Not like yours. This place doesn't sanctify romance. It sanctifies mutual witness." She kneels by the pool. Her reflection stares back in ripples. "Those who come here offer memory. One each. A truth. A wound. A joy. You place it into the mist. It will remember both forever." Jalen sits opposite her. "And if I don't want it to remember me?" She steadies him. "Then offer nothing. But if you do, if you place one memory into the mist, you allow it to braid with mine. Only that one thing. Nothing more." He considers. Galactic anthropologists once theorized that early Vayari relationships weren't built on attraction or ritual, but shared trauma, engraved together into sacred architecture. The bonding vaults weren't for marriage, but for moments so real, so transformative, they demanded to be witnessed by something eternal. Jalen pulls the towel from his vest. "This feels like a stupid thing to offer," he mutters. "But I don't have a lot of options." Ishari smiles softly. "Then begin." He leans forward. Touches the mist with one finger. It accepts his signal. The air shimmers. He closes his eyes and recalls. The moment Era died. His sister. Burn Unit, Titan Dome 7. She was 15. Her last words, promise me you'll see someone who sees you back." He never promised. Until now. He opens his eyes. Ishari is watching him, the mist glowing beneath her. She leans forward. Touches the surface. The memory she shares is simpler, yet no less searing. A stone garden. She's 6. Alone. Watching the others fly their mind kites through neural air. She cannot connect. Cannot lift even one thought above the horizon. Then, a figure appears, her older brother. He offers her his hand. And says, "Just hold on. I'll fly with you." She looks up. "He died when I was 10. Since then, I've never flown." Jalen's voice is soft. "You did. When you reached for me in the dome." The mist pulses once, braided now, faint golden lines linking two floating truths. No oath. No vow. Just shared presence. Ishari steps around the pool and sits beside him. Not facing him, just next to him. A simple comfort. She speaks again. "Do you believe in fate?" "No," Jalen says. "Good. Neither do I." A pause. "But I believe in alignment. And maybe, just maybe, we found it here. Without meaning to." Jalen exhales slowly. The vault walls begin to dim, signaling closure. Not rejection, just rest. As they leave, the glyphs behind them shift. 2 names, side by side. Not interlocked, but adjacent. And that, perhaps, is enough. They return to the upper deck slowly, their steps heavier but steadier, changed, though nothing is said. The bonding vault hasn't bound them with chains. Only truth. And maybe, for now, that's more lasting than ceremony. When they reach the sanctum level, an elder waits. High Matron Velthia stands alone in the veiled corridor of offerings, lit by soft floating orbs of memory silk. Her expression is unreadable. Behind her, 2 paths are lit, one leading to the Veari conclave chamber, the other toward the human embassy wing, docked by shuttle. She gestures between them. "You must choose," she says. Jalen stiffens. "Choose what?" "Presence," she replies. "Not loyalty. Not love. Just presence." Ishari steps forward. "We've already shared memory. And yet the bond remains unresolved," Velthia says gently. "Your accidental right has now become a symbol to more than one world. The clans will not wait much longer." Jalen looks between the 2 corridors. "You're telling me this is political now?" "It has always been political," she says. "We are not only beings. We are symbols. And in you, they see either betrayal or bridge." He clenches his jaw. "What if I don't want to be either?" Velthia's voice lowers. "Then you walk the 3rd path, exile. We will erase the veil, silence the rites, and allow the memory to fade." Ishari blinks. "And me?" The matron's silence is the answer. Jalen turns to her. "That's not a choice." "It is," Velthia says. "Because none are without cost. You may return to your kind, unbound, unburdened. She will remain behind. The bond will be archived. You will be a footnote." "And the other path?" The matron tilts her head. "You walk beside her into the public eye. Into a pact. A role. A right that must be fulfilled not just in feeling, but in symbol." Jalen considers. They retreat into the adjoining quiet chamber, not to delay, but to breathe. Ishari sits with him on a low bench beside a ripple glass window. "I won't force you," she says, voice barely audible. "If you leave, I will not chase." "That's not the part I'm afraid of," he says. "I'm afraid I'll look back and wonder if I ever belonged anywhere." She turns to him. Then stay, she whispers. Not for prophecy. Not for clan. Not for ritual. She reaches for his hand. Stay because I look at you, and I don't see a hero. I see someone who chooses. Even when the stars don't ask. Somewhere on the station, galactic envoys argue about territorial lines and neural trade routes. The fate of entire sectors hangs in diplomacy's balance. But here, in a corridor of memory orbs and soft-walled silence, a different balance is struck. Jalen stands. Returns to the matron. His voice is steady now. If I take that path, what happens? Velthia studies him. Then the bond will be witnessed. Not as mistake, but as intention. You will enter the rite of holding. You will become known not as a salvager, but as a thread in our future. Jalen takes a breath. Then I'll walk that path. She bows. Then so shall she. Ishari steps beside him. Not behind. Not beneath. Beside. Later, as they prepare for the public rite, Jalen sits alone one final time, the decision key still in his palm. He doesn't crush it. He doesn't toss it away either. He tucks it into a memory drawer behind his chest plate, next to a folded, slightly burned towel. Just in case. Because maybe what defines choice isn't the absence of doubt. Maybe it's the willingness to carry it and keep walking. Together. The rite of holding is not loud. There are no trumpets. No parades. No planetary broadcasts. Just two people in a ceremonial chamber that smells of crushed amberroot and memory resin, kneeling beneath a sky of simulated stars. Jalen expected something more dramatic. Fireworks. Or ancient Veari incantations. Instead, the ceremony begins with silence. Ishari stands across from him, wrapped in layered robes of shimmering dusk-hue silk. Her skin glows faintly beneath the light, not from ceremony, but from calm. Velthia steps forward, but does not speak. She hands each of them a small sphere, woven from braided plant fiber and threads of memory silk, light as breath, but charged with ancestral resonance. This is a vessel, Ishari says softly. To be filled not with vows, but with meaning. Jalen frowns. Meaning? She nods. In my people's ways, claiming was never about owning. It was about knowing. To claim someone is to say, I have seen you fully, and I choose to remain. He turns the sphere in his hand. No oaths? No contracts, she says. Only presence. He looks up. What if I don't know what I'm choosing yet? She smiles. Then you choose to keep seeing. That is enough. They place their spheres in the central pool of translation, a shallow basin where energy hums faintly and glows as new meaning is deposited. Each sphere begins to pulse as their emotional fields register. And in that moment, the chamber changes. Jalen sees, not a bond. Not a bride. But a mirror, a being who never wanted to be saved, only seen. He realizes the towel didn't create the bond. It revealed it. Galactic scholars, the matron had once told him, argue whether presence without expectation is love, or something deeper. Here, in the presence of ancestral memory, Jalen understands what he's been resisting. He wasn't afraid of being bound. He was afraid that it might mean something real. Something irreversible. He breathes out. Reaches for her hand. She takes it, gently, without flourish. And the rite completes. No explosion. No song. Just a quiet pulse from the pool as their twin spheres align. Later, They sit in the post-ceremony rest chamber, sipping spiced nectar and watching the simulated stars pass slowly overhead. I still don't know what I'm doing, he admits. Good, Ishari replies. That means it's real. He grins. Your people are terrifying. She laughs. We're just slow to trust, fast to feel. And this whole thing, being claimed, how does it end? It doesn't, she says. It changes. Sometimes it drifts. Sometimes it deepens. And sometimes it becomes silence. But it never ends. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of freedom, she counters. He watches her fingers trace a soft line on the towel, which now rests between them like an old friend. I should have known, he murmurs. The moment you pressed it to your forehead. She looks up. That was the invocation. I thought you were just cold. I was. She leans in. But I was also ready. He holds her gaze, then says quietly, then let's see where this leads. Somewhere in the Central Archive, a new thread is being recorded. Not a royal pact. Not a savior's tale. Just a moment between two lives, built from cloth and kindness, witnessed by memory and sustained by presence. And in a galaxy full of war and protocol, that may be the rarest thing of all. The celebration doesn't last long. Just hours after the rite of holding is completed, the Galactic Trade Accord's emissaries transmit a coded alert to the Oath of Return. The Veyari's unilateral bond with a human, outside sanctioned diplomatic channels, constitutes a breach of cultural neutrality. The translation may be sterile, but its meaning is clear. The bond has become political dynamite. The ship's diplomatic wing is instantly overwhelmed. Holograms of Terran envoys, Federation counselors, and independent trade ministers blink in and out of the strategy room like an angry constellation of bureaucrats. This isn't about love, one barks. It's about precedent. We can't allow random unions to redefine alliance power structures. Jalen sits in the corner, arms folded. He doesn't speak. He listens. And he remembers the feeling of Ishari's fingers wrapped in his only hours before. The pressure builds. A coalition of minor planetary blocs issues an ultimatum: renounce the claim or risk full dissolution of existing treaties. Velthia refuses. We do not annul our bonds to suit the fears of those who cannot comprehend them, she says coldly. But Jalen can see it in her eyes, worry. Not for herself. For Ishari. Because the cost is rising. Now, it's not just exile at stake. Now, war fleets reposition. Now, diplomatic immunity fractures. Now, entire worlds teeter on cultural collapse, over a towel and a truth no one outside their ship seems to understand. Even Rondell gets pulled into it. You've made the kid a symbol, the old tech mutters, running diagnostics while sipping burnt tea. They'll either crown her or crucify her. You sure you're up for that? I didn't ask to be chosen. No one ever does, Rondell says. But you don't get to half-hold someone's future. Jalen stares at the engine core readouts. He knows the truth. He didn't just hold her. He kept holding her. And the galaxy, in its infinite need for control, doesn't understand what it means to choose someone without conquest. Ishari, for her part, remains quiet. She spends long hours in the reflection chamber, watching threads of light dance over the glyph wall. When Jalen finally joins her, she's tracing old Veyari names, some of which haven't been spoken in centuries. They want me to step down, she says simply. To renounce the right. To call it a cultural error. He swallows. What will you do? I want to ask you something, she replies. He nods. She turns. Looks directly at him. If you could erase that moment in the dome, if you could go back and never give me the towel, would you? The question hangs in the air like a blade suspended by thought alone. He considers it honestly. Not for seconds, but minutes. And finally answers. No. Ishari breathes in, slow and deep. Then I won't renounce it. She walks to him. Takes his hand. The galaxy doesn't get to decide what was real between us. Let them come. I will not live a life only for their comfort. Outside, diplomatic ships begin to arrive, flagships bearing crests of discontent. Inside, a decision is made. The Ve'ari will not sever the bond. Jalen will not walk away. And Ishari will not be rewritten. If the alliance breaks, so be it. Better truth in pieces than peace built on silence. Sleep doesn't come easily aboard the Oath of Return anymore. The lights are dimmed. The engines hum low and constant. But tension vibrates in the walls, and the eyes of passing crew, and the static-choked news broadcasts from orbit. Peace talks dangled by a thread. And Jalen can't sleep. He lies on the cot in his private chamber, barely larger than a cargo locker, with a folded towel at his side like a misplaced relic. His hands are still smudged with coolant from helping Rondell reroute auxiliary shielding. The kind of mechanical work that once made sense. Now, even that feels distant. He closes his eyes. In the dream, it's raining. Titan's arcology glitters beneath its geodesic dome, water streaking across glass panels like ancient rivers rediscovering a path. The sky is the soft gray blue of twilight filtered through 1,000 layers of atmosphere and dome filter. He's back in the burn ward. It smells like antiseptic and ozone. Familiar and unbearable. His little sister, Era, sits propped against a white poly pillow. Half her hair is singed. Her eyes burn brighter than ever. You didn't bring me chocolate, she says. You're not supposed to have any. That's not what I asked. Jalen smirks. I was late. I got distracted. She leans closer. You're always helping people who don't ask. He shrugs. Someone has to. She holds up a sketch pad, rough pencil lines, smudged and half-finished. A crude drawing of two figures, one with long antennae, the other with a towel. Do you think aliens will understand us? She asks. He laughs. Doubt it. But I think we'll understand them. Eventually. Era's expression softens. She whispers something. He can't hear it. What was that? But the dream is already fading. The sound of the engine hum reclaims his awareness. Jalen sits up, blinking. The towel has fallen to the floor. He picks it up slowly. Feels the weave. It's rough, charred at one edge. Smells faintly of plasma coolant and something else now. Jasmine. And her. He doesn't believe in prophecy. Never did. But he believes in choice. And in presence. And somewhere between the mist on Bareth and the dream of Titan, something inside him has settled. Later, he stands at the observation window of the upper promenade, watching a dozen diplomatic vessels rotate in controlled alignment, their insignias cold and perfect. Ishari approaches silently, a thin cloak wrapped around her shoulders. He speaks without turning. She told me I always help people who don't ask. Ishari tilts her head. Your sister? He nods. Ishari touches the window, watching her reflection blur in the starlight. I never asked for you, she says gently. But I kept hoping you'd stay. He looks at her now. Really looks. and smiles. I'm not leaving. Memory is strange. It rewrites us in silence, in dreams, in soft moments we never realize are pivotal until they echo. That sketch on Air's pad, a boy and an alien girl. Maybe it wasn't imagination. Maybe it was foresight, carved in pencil by a child whose body failed, but whose vision lingered. Jalen wraps the towel over Ashari's shoulders again, this time deliberately, reverently. No witnesses. No glyphs. Just them. You're not a burden, he whispers. You're the moment I finally kept my promise. Ishari says nothing. She doesn't have to. The towel tells the story now. And so does he. The official convening of the Interstellar Alliance Tribunal takes place in the orbital amphitheater above Veltal Station, an artificial ring where representatives of 63 species gather in artificial gravity to debate, posture, and vote on the fates of lives they'll never meet. Jalen's name is on the docket. Unregulated interspecies bonding with strategic implications. Category: cultural breach. Risk level: variable, pending witness response. He's not present. Not yet. Below, in the private chambers of the Oath of Return, Ishari waits alone. Velthia, stone-faced, stands behind her. I asked him not to come, Ishari says quietly. I know. I didn't want to see his face when they condemned me. Velthia places a hand on her shoulder. Then prepare yourself, child. Because I believe you're about to. Above, the tribunal begins. Dozens of voices speak in sequence, legal jargon, precedent citations, and moral outrage delivered with manufactured decorum. He endangered an alliance. She exploited a vulnerable outsider. They bonded under duress. It violates the doctrine of ritual consent. Then comes the final charge. Their union, if left unchecked, may establish legal grounds for unsanctioned hybrid governance between species without negotiated protocols. In simpler terms, their love might change everything. The chamber calls for a verdict. But before the presiding arbiter can speak, a door opens at the edge of the amphitheater. And Jalen Rusk walks in. He's not dressed in ceremonial garb. No diplomat sash. No clan markings. Just a salvager's jacket and boots worn thin by years of radiation dust and hard gravity. He walks with confidence, not because he belongs, but because he's decided to belong anyway. Before you vote, he says, I have a statement. Silence. The arbiter allows it. Jalen breathes in. My name is Jalen Rusk. I'm a mechanic. I fix things. Usually things that are broken. Sometimes things no one thinks are worth fixing. He scans the chamber. Eyes lock on him like missiles. I gave someone a towel. That's all. It wasn't meant to mean anything. But it did. Because when you offer warmth in the middle of a dying world, someone might decide you're worth living for. Gasps ripple. I didn't understand their customs. I still don't. But I understand this, she mattered to me before I knew her name. And that means something more than your protocols. He steps forward. You can vote. Ban us. Label us a threat. But know this, I'm not walking away. Not because she's sacred to her people. Not because of some prophecy. But because she is real. Because I saw her. And I never looked away. He holds up the towel, creased, stained, old. He lets it fall between them onto the polished tribunal floor. This was never about claiming. It was about choosing. Somewhere on the ship, Ishari closes her eyes. She doesn't need a live feed. She feels it in the pulse of her aura. He came. Later, as the tribunal stalls to consider implications, Jalen walks the quiet hallway back toward the ship. She's waiting by the airlock. This time, no guards. No matrons. Just her. She steps forward slowly. Eyes wet. No towel between them. Just space. And then none at all. They don't speak. They don't need to. Their foreheads touch. And in that silence, everything the galaxy tried to undo, holds. They stand in the Covenant Chamber, a space long sealed aboard the Oath of Return, open now not for spectacle, but for closure. The walls here are woven with threads of ancestral sound, humming low and slow like a lullaby carried across centuries. Jalen and Ashari stand hand in hand beneath the mirrored ceiling. It reflects not their forms, but their shared aura field, braided now, two wavelengths oscillating into one. There are no elders. No tribunal. No camera feed. Only presence. And the bonding is not declared. It is witnessed. The towel rests between them, stretched gently across a pedestal of living stone. Its fibers pulse with every shared memory they've layered onto it: heat, mist, defiance, laughter. It was never the towel. It was what survived with them. Ishari takes the final step forward. From her robes, she retrieves a thin vial of ether sap, a distilled extract from her people's oldest tree, believed to hold echoed memory. She places a single drop onto the center of the cloth. It blooms slowly, unraveling into a soft golden hue that spreads to the edges. Jalen watches, breathing steady, as her voice rises, not loud, but deep. A low harmonic chant in Veari, without translation. When she finishes, she opens her eyes. I offer you presence beyond moment. Jalen steps forward. He removes his own offering, a data ring, nothing ornate, just something worn, rugged, engraved with initials long erased by time. My sister gave this to me before she died, he says softly. I've carried it across 6 systems. I haven't let anyone hold it, until now. He places it atop the towel. I offer you memory beyond blood. The pedestal pulses. The chamber brightens. And then, together, they touch the center. Not a vow. Not a ritual. Just skin to cloth, cloth to memory, memory to truth. The glyphs above them ignite. A final pulse echoes outward, seen not by eyes, but by fields of meaning. It is done. Outside the chamber, the ship remains still. The galaxy awaits verdicts, headlines, diplomatic clarifications. But inside this small room of resonance and hush, 2 beings, one human, one Veari, have done something far rarer than peace. They've chosen each other. With no demands. No victories. Only witness. Rondell later finds Jalen sitting cross-legged outside the chamber, the towel folded neatly beside him. Well, the old tech asks. Jalen looks up. Smiles faintly. She didn't claim me, he says. And I didn't save her. Rondell snorts. Could have fooled the entire alliance. Jalen holds up the towel, smoothing it once. We just saw each other. And never looked away. Across systems, there are still arguments. Still councils. Still ships rearming just in case. But on a small freighter rebuilt from kindness and wreckage, the newest entry in the memory archive is carved. He gave her a towel. She gave him everything else. And so, in the quiet between stars, where judgment fades and echoes soften, 2 lives find not resolution, but continuation. They do not run. They do not reign. They simply remain. Together. Their bond is not forged by power or command. It is not enforced by decree. It is held, like breath between words, like warmth between hands, by the smallest of choices, made over and over again. A towel. A touch. A step closer. That is all. So as you drift now, let the hum of this ship's heart cradle you. Let the memory of simple kindness linger. Let your thoughts fade into light, and your breath slow to the rhythm of stars. Tonight, you have traveled through mist and memory, through misunderstanding and meaning. And now, you rest.